Viridiana is considered by many to be Luis Buñuel's masterpiece, but it is a film that was greeted with much controversy when it was released in 1961. At its premiere in the Cannes Film Festival, it enjoyed great success. It won the Palme d'Or prize. It was highly reviewed, well reviewed by film critics, but at the same time, it was harshly attacked by religious conservatives. It was banned immediately in Spain. In fact, they tried to destroy all existing copies of the film. The head of the Spanish Cinematic Institute was fired for supporting Buñuel's project. In Italy, they even held a trial for Buñuel in absentia, where he was declared guilty of blasphemy, and he was sentenced to 1 year in jail if he were to ever return to Italy or set foot on Italian soil. The Vatican even weighed in and declared the film sacrilegious and blasphemous, and even the Pope railed against the film. To which Buñuel replied, quote, "Thank goodness I'm still an atheist. I didn't try to blaspheme, but of course the Pope knows more about that than I do." End of quote. Viridiana, again, was ordered destroyed in Spain, but the lead actress, Silvia Pinal, was able to find a copy and sneak it into her luggage, and she smuggled it out of the country. And when she got back to Mexico, she gave the copy, of course, to a film production company, and it enjoyed great success in Mexico. What the film's detractors found disturbing about it was not so much the story, but rather certain images. We see in the film a parody of Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting, The Last Supper, with poor people and beggars and homeless people instead of the 12 apostles. There's a scene at the end of a little girl throwing a crown of thorns into a bonfire, obviously the crown of thorns pertaining to Jesus Christ. There's a highly ironic use of sacred music, especially Handel's Messiah, throughout the film. But I think it would be a mistake to see the film as a wholesale attack against the Catholic Church. Buñuel himself said that the title character, Viridiana, was a Don Quixote figure, but a female, modern-day Don Quixote. And I see a Don Quixote or quixotic theme in the film of a clash between high ideals and harsh reality. Critics have said that there are essentially two parts to this film. I see both parts as having the structure of a quixotic quest. In the first part, we see Viridiana as a young novice preparing to take her vows as a nun, living in a convent, when her Mother Superior kind of calls her out of her comfort zone to go visit an uncle in the countryside who has written a letter requesting that Viridiana spend a few days with him. But when she gets to the uncle's estate, she realizes right away that he's a very strange character, that he's obsessed with his deceased wife, and furthermore, Viridiana, his niece, is a dead ringer for this dead woman. Many critics have related this film to Alfred Hitchcock's great homage to romantic obsession, Vertigo. In both films, we see this older gentleman figure who remakes the younger girl in the image of a dead woman. In this film, Don Jaime's wife had died on their wedding day, so he convinces Viridiana to wear this dead woman's wedding dress. And then he gives her this drug, and he puts her to sleep with the hope that she can live with him forever. But abruptly, Don Jaime kind of comes to his senses, and this leads to his destruction. At any rate, critics have commented on the surrealist kind of quality of this initial part of the film. Luis Buñuel, of course, is the great surrealist film director. In 1928, he co-directed with the great surrealist painter Salvador Dalí, Un Chien Andalou. In 1930, Dalí and Buñuel directed another great surrealist film, The Age of Gold. These earlier films tried to represent dreams directly. Dalí or Buñuel would have a dream. The next morning, they would get the camera crew out and try to film the dream verbatim. But in this film, we see more of a cause and effect of events. It's more chronological. And instead, we see certain objects that, according to the critics, are surrealistic. There's a crucifix that at the same time is a knife. There's a strange wagon that is led by a horse, but that pulls a little dog along. Although Buñuel said that these surrealist images actually were taken from his experience of growing up in the Spanish countryside. The second part of the film has to do with the second quixotic quest. We see that Viridiana has left the convent because she has inherited a rich estate, but she decides to share her good fortune with a collection of poor people, or nowadays we call them homeless people. Buñuel noted that some of these people were not actors. Actually, they were street people. The woman that plays the dwarf woman was a person from the streets. The little man that plays the man suffering from leprosy was another street person. The second actor, the man with leprosy, was actually Buñuel's favorite part of the whole film. This little man refused to obey the director's instructions, but Buñuel would rewrite the scenes, the original scenes, to kind of go with this man's energy. Eventually, these poor people betray Viridiana, and this is very serpentine. In Don Quixote, the title character is betrayed by the poor people, by the slaves, etc., that he tries to rescue or to save. Also in Don Quixote, the more Don Quixote tries to save or help people, oftentimes the more he makes things worse. The same thing happens, as you will see, when Viridiana tries to help these homeless people. In conclusion, Viridiana is a film that explores the serpentine, quixotic tension between high ideals and brutal reality. But for Buñuel, this is not a negative dichotomy. Buñuel, in fact, wants the audience to identify with his protagonist, Viridiana. At the film's end, we see Viridiana cured of her illusions, having experienced the process of traversing her quixotic dreams and fantasies. Her ideals have been deflated, and she is able to embrace reality for perhaps the first time. As Buñuel once surmised, perhaps Viridiana will get married to Jorge, and maybe even have children and form a family. But the point, according to Buñuel, is that she will now be useful in the world for something.